How do you find your purpose? Is a question that I'm often asked when I've come on podcast episodes as a guest, or when somebody else is talking to me, or there's a comment about a struggle that they're going through. And because this is the 20s detox, I feel like that question comes up throughout your life, but on a major point in your 20s. Today, I'm just going to get into a little bit more about what our purpose means, how can we find our purpose and feel less stressed about that area in general. Because when you go through your first identity crisis, it can feel like you don't even know who you are anymore. And purpose is up there on the top question of who am I and what am I meant to do here? I feel like there's a bunch of people giving examples of what this could mean, and I find that the approach that I take with it is a bit different, a bit more unique, but also will hopefully at the end of this episode allow you to feel less overwhelmed with it. Before we get into it, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the 20s Detox podcast. I'm Bianca, your host, where we dive into all the things that I'm learning and unlearning in my 20s to elevate this decade. Please make sure to subscribe or follow along. I post an episode every single Tuesday relating to seasonal guidance or tips for living in your 20s. I also have this goal of reaching 100 reviews on Spotify, so if you have been listening for some time and you're enjoying it, please make sure to rate it. The pressure that we put on ourselves to try and find our purpose is one of the reasons as to why we don't feel whole. And I'm finding it's just another facet of this search while you go through an identity crisis, while we're in our youth, to search for labels as to explain who we are. And this search for labels of what we do, how we identify, how we, move through life is because we really just want to have security on this plane in the role that we have. And I think the book that I'm going to put in this description to really help you unlearn this need to find a role is the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. That book actually gave me my first spiritual awakening. It taught me a lot about our ego and how it attaches to certain things and how actually it can get in the way of finding our purpose or understanding our purpose. And it comes down to really, who are you beyond the roles that you identify? Like if I said, I'm Bianca who has a podcast. Well, did I not exist before the podcast? Oh, I'm Bianca as a partner, as a girlfriend, as a daughter, etc. What about when my parents pass away? Am I nothing? What about if I break up with my boyfriend? Am I nothing? And it's why sometimes when we do have these moments of loss, whether it's with a career, a degree, a partner, a parent, you go through an identity crisis because you attached yourself to yet another role. And we are human. We have egos. They serve a purpose. They keep us grounded. But I do think to be able to just observe that is happening will give you a wider lens to know how to feel better about yourself and what you're doing through life. Because I'm going to tell you this, and I have said it before, but people who are older than you that seem like they are more settled and know what they want and had figured it out and must know their purpose are not actually more knowledgeable about all those things, but they are more comfortable with the process of life and who they are becoming. And because of that, they're able to stay in a flow state, in this rhythm, a lot longer without these moments of pauses, big pauses where you're questioning everything and you might be in this stressful state because they have gone through that and they're learning to surrender to what life throws at them. I went on a walk last night. It was past sunset, and as I'm walking, I'm kind of just awakening to this realization. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a full adult. That might sound really silly, but I now live away from my parents. I go on this walk by myself. It seems silly when I say it out loud, but I had this realization that right now, I am where I wanted to be 5 years ago. And I didn't know how to get there. And it isn't that I have everything 5 years later that you'll hear a lot of people say online and show online of like, well, I got the house and I got the partner and I got the family and I got the money and all that stuff. Because I honestly wouldn't say that I have all those things. But what I will say is I feel more at peace with the path that I'm walking on because I trust myself, I trust the universe, I trust what I believe in and the reason for why I'm here. I didn't have that 5 years ago. I was searching for these labels. I was searching for these tangible things of security so that I could say, I've made it. I know who I am. I'm settled. I think that's a good foundation to be able to remember as to why we constantly are searching for a purpose as well as other labels. Like we're constantly searching for something. As we get older and older and older, we have less of a desire to have a label because you learn that no label is really going to describe who you are because we are all incredibly individual. I was telling a friend last night that there's not going to be another person exactly like you in this entire planet. Like you are you. When we search for labels and check marks and we're very rigid within our thinking, it can do us a major disservice because we're not letting ourselves be and we're not actually approaching it in a new way instead of a way that's finding labels that are already created. Sometimes we can't find a label that really aligns with our purpose because you are the person that is supposed to create it for yourself. And it might look differently than anything else out there, so it cannot be described. And another thing, there's something called your purpose, and then there's something called your passion. The reason why trying to find your purpose can seem so daunting, so scary, and so confusing is, hear me out, maybe you're not supposed to find it. Maybe your purpose is to be here. Maybe your purpose is to create through you and experience the life that you're supposed to have. Maybe that is the purpose, to just live your life. When you attach to one thing, that is you once again falling into this role where we are trying to say, oh, this is who I am. And one of the biggest things that I try and guide young people to do is allow yourself to seem messy. Allow yourself to appear in a way that resists the urge to find labels and describe you, to just be yourself. Because I've said this before, your purpose is not really what is about you. Your purpose is not what you do at work, what you look like, what your personality is, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. All of that describes something that is about you, and that can shape the roles that you take in this life. And it also can shape the passions that you have. And passions can be fleeting. Passions can come and go. There can be times when you are obsessed with a certain hobby and it lasts for 10 years and then you never do it again. And what I've found is the people who really enjoy their life, they're magnetic, they are glowing almost, are those that allow them to stay in a flow state the whole time by resisting attaching to labels and what they're doing. So to summarize a couple things that I just said, one of them is that the reason why finding our purpose is such a big thing, such a daunting thing, is because we are doing something wrong. We're seeing it in the wrong category. We're seeing it as a role that we're supposed to fall into, when really your purpose is the foundation of who you are that will guide you into different roles, guide you into different passions, and into certain directions for your life. Your purpose is to just be here and to experience. And what this will allow you, if you really just sit with that, I know some of you might feel a little bit of resistance. I want you to sit with that resistance and be frustrated with that. Be like, but I want my thing. When you finally start to allow yourself to no longer put this pressure to find this thing of who you are. You are able to do many things. You're not put in this situation anymore where you can say, this is not for me. I don't need to try this. I don't need to do this. You just allow yourself to experience. And also, you are able to stay more in tune with your heart and your intuition versus just analytical thinking. And you'll listen to the nudges that will guide you towards a certain person, towards a certain job, towards a certain career, towards a certain area where you can live, without letting your brain get in the way, is because your purpose is an accumulation of your life. Only at the end of your life will you understand your purpose. And you will not know that unless you've lived your life. At such a young age, I urge you, do not put the pressure on yourself to find your quote unquote purpose. You have purpose now. You do. And the more that you allow yourself to just be and say, I have my purpose now, and I am open to what is meant for me, then you will stay in a flow state longer. You will have less resistance. You will have less anxiety. You'll have less depression. You'll have less obsessive thoughts because you're not trying to fit yourself into a box you never were meant to be in. All of us are so individual and unique. And the reason why we feel unhappy is because we're put in these boxes created by other people that are not meant to be your box. And in fact, we're not meant to have boxes, period. To just give some tips, because some of you might think that this is pretty abstract, which it is. What I encourage you to do, first of all, I would so urge you to read the book, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I'm going to put it in the description below through my Shopmy. And that way you're able to learn a little bit more about what these roles are and what roles you might be in, what roles you might be attaching to. Will give you a way to just like drop into your body and really see yourself for the first time. And then you're going to be like, damn, that's my purpose. I am purpose. The next thing that I will urge you to do is, so the springtime, I have a seasonal workbook where spring is all about action. Sometimes it's really good to just dive into something because we learn so much more about ourselves by doing, not as much through the preparation stage, by doing. What I think is if there's something that you are thinking you would like to try or experience, then go after it. Try it out. If it's a creative project, have it be a creative project. If it's seeing this person, then it's seeing this person. If it's traveling somewhere, then go and travel somewhere. When we make decisions, we are allowing ourselves to experience what is meant for us. If you want more tips on how to align with spring's energy when it comes to action taking and do it in an intuitive way, then I have my guide also in the description there. And finally, I always give 3 actions every single Sunday relating to the episode that is released earlier in the week. So this is coming out on a Tuesday. This upcoming Sunday will be a newsletter focused on this topic. There's going to be 3 actions. One of them is to encourage people to listen to this episode, but for the other 2, it's going to be a journal prompt and an activity that you can do. So if you want to learn a little bit more on how you can implement what I'm sharing in this episode, then make sure to subscribe before this Sunday and you'll get it. It's totally free. I know some of you might have clicked on this and thought, this is going to be my answer. This is going to solve all my problems. This is going to make me finally feel whole again. And I'm going to tell you something that is harsh but liberating. When it comes to the self-help world, to find somebody who will tell you, I have the answer that will make you whole, they're lying. Because the only person that's going to actually find what will make them whole is you. Is that frustrating? Yes, because that means it can be hard. But it also can be exciting. And this is the final thing I'll tell you. Try and view it in an exciting way. When you release the roles that you are pushing on yourself and you release the pressure of trying to find what this purpose might look like, because we just dissected it, we just explained what purpose is. It's something we don't have the luxury to know. because it is only through experience that we will find it. It's only when we go from this earth one day will we understand what it was meant to be. And when you let go of that, you are able to feel so much happier. And you won't need all these people that will tell you what you should and should not do. You're going to know. You're going to be more in tune with yourself. So I'll leave you with that. I hope that this gave you a little bit of comfort. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode did resonate with you and you have a friend who's struggling with the meaning of purpose, please send this over to them. Talk about it with them. Maybe even start a little book club. Start reading Eckhart Tolle together, because that might change your perspective, not just about yourself, but of life, because it's actually finally breaking so many of the systems that are limiting us. All right, have a good week. I'll see you next Tuesday.